You're watching the TCMMA podcast.
You had Robert Whittaker in prime time taking on Aliskerov with Khamzat Chimaev out. More on that in a moment. On his reaction to this fight, because I was very curious what Khamzat would say. But Whittaker steals the show in Saudi Arabia. We thought it'd be Khamzat, but he didn't even make it to the fight. So Whittaker steals the show. Check it out. And what's going through Whittaker's head? This is not what he planned for. He planned to defend takedowns. He planned to be on the ground potentially at some fight. He prepared for a lot of power. And you have those, but I can tell you now just by looking. Oh, Whittaker lands a big right, and Ikram is out on his feet already. This is not good. He's in trouble. And big uppercut drops Aliskerov, and this is going to be it. It's over. Robert Whittaker. What I tell you, baby. What I tell you. He's lucky it ain't Khamzat, because Khamzat would have. And I was just getting ready to say that it's clear to me, looking at these two guys, that Aliskerov is not Khamzat Chimaev, because the power's not there, the aggressive takedown ability's not there, at least against a guy like Whittaker. And Whittaker landed a big left, and immediately Aliskerov was out on his feet like this. And then Whittaker came in and boom with the big uppercut, and it's over. And again, credit Robert Whittaker for coming in and taking on this, giving this guy an opportunity. And he's going to celebrate like he beat Khamzat, you know? And this isn't the fight that we all wanted to see, obviously. Yeah, it was a big right. Out on his feet, takes a left. Takes another left. Ducks the head kick, but he's already wobbly. And he takes a left uppercut. And the ref steps in at the right time. Aliskerov gets right back up. He's fine. But certainly just overwhelming power from Robert Whittaker. And we're just getting to look at the replay here from multiple angles. And I had a feeling this thing was going to get done in the first round. You don't know what to expect from Ikram until you see it, you know? And it's clear that Robert Whittaker is on a whole different level. And I would have loved to see Khamzat in this fight, just to see how he handles a guy like Robert Whittaker, right? If Khamzat is as good as we believe, he wins this fight. But Robert Whittaker shows you the power. And there's levels to this game. Yeah, and that uppercut just, you know, the ref's already trying to get him. You let Whittaker get one or two more just to make sure, which is the right move, because Aliskerov was still crawling around trying to get up. And Whittaker finishes this fight in just a couple of minutes. So now Ikram has lost to both Khamzat and Whittaker. And that's the way it goes. And it's just completely different levels. Aliskerov will be back. I think we even had him on our due list. But he's nowhere close to the level of Robert Whittaker today. Khamzat would have been a much different fight, and it would have been interesting to see. Robert Whittaker wins. He maintains his number 3 spot here. Middleweight division. UFC, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you got some people saying that's what he would have done to Khamzat. And you got others like myself saying that wouldn't have happened to Khamzat. Khamzat would have stole the show and got the victory. But we just don't know. And will they fight soon? More on that in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the results from this past Saturday, UFC Saudi Arabia, 6-5 on the night. But you see there, I mean, we started out kind of slow, 2-3 in the first 5. Losing, Naimov lost, Renat Fakhretdinov won, Kai Young Ho Kang lost, Magomed won, and Zhao Long lost in the road to the UFC final. Then Nasrat Haqparast wins. So we're 3-3 with 5 to go. We go 3-2 down the stretch. Lose Johnny Walker first in the main card. Then get Shara and Kelvin. So we're looking nice. We need one of the last 2 to have a winning night, preferably the last one. And that's the way it worked out. Pavlovich fell to Volkov. Almost a little scuffle after the fight, right? As Volkov just tried to go over and say, hey, man, good fight. But Pavlovich, you know, feeling down on himself, tried to pick a fight after the fight, which is always funny, you know, because you just had 15 minutes to do what you wanted to do, and now you want to fight after the fight. And then, luckily for us, Robert Whittaker wins. He stole the show at UFC Saudi Arabia. I mean, he absolutely stole the show. You know, and will these guys fight again? First of all, before we get into the news, let's just contemplate this. Robert Whittaker sustained Nothing in the form of punches or kicks or anything like that from Ikram. So UFC 305, I think, is still a possibility. I'm not sure what Khamzat's status would be fighting in Australia. I think it would be good. I don't know. But that's definitely a possibility. Would the UFC want to go in that direction? With especially at a pay-per-view event with all the fights they've had to reschedule lately. Right? And then you go back to the Nate Diaz situation. The UFC was scrambling at the last second in that one. So now that doesn't look good. But Robert Whittaker saying, I plan to be there. Speaking about UFC Australia, aka UFC 305, which is looming now in just over 2 months. Right? I think that will be August. Khamzat rises from sickness, reacts to Robert Whittaker KO. We are not done, says Khamzat. So you got Khamzat, saying we're not done. We want to go. We want to get it on. He wants to get it on. But unfortunately, even though he's like my favorite fighter, the guy I would put against anybody right now and tell you he would win, when I say that, he's a liability for the UFC. And I hate to say that, but that's the case right now. He's a liability in the fact that will he actually fight if he's scheduled. He's had a couple setbacks in 2 of the last 3 or 2 of the last 4 fights. Right? He fought Burns, he fought Usman. Didn't fight Diaz, beat Kevin Holland in the restructured fight. Now had to pull out of the Robert Whittaker fight for whatever reason, even if it's not under his control. He's still a liability right now for the UFC, and I think that's going to be a serious problem for him going forward. He can talk a big game, but now he's a liability. And that's not good.
He's gon' fight, he's gon' fight. Hold your breath till the end of the night. Last fight a call, UFC at its height. Bringing that thunder with all his might. Saying, step up, wanna fight? Hold up, think twice. Gladiator, assassin, reckless, no abandon. Walk through that cage, he'll leave your ass.